Welcome to a new Breed of Golf Live. Michael Breed, I know we're ready to help you improve your game. We're going to talk a little bit about transition and sequence and how this is going to help you hit the ball more consistently, hit it farther. And also, too, by the way, we're going to help you with your golf game in other areas of the game. So if you've got any questions, you just make sure you get into the chat and ask away. Let me first introduce you to the guys that are a big part of this. Greg Ducharme, who you can hear me every week on A New Breed of Golf on Sirius XM. Also, too, joins me on Course Record with Michael Breed. He is here. And then Gibbsy, there's the man. There you are in all his glory. Steve Gibbs, he operates everything that goes on. It's a three-man job. We're kicking, but we're trying to have a big time with it. A couple of things I want to remind you about as well, too. We've had this months-long tournament for the greatest logo in all of golf courses or clubs. And Greg, I'm going to throw it to you for the final tally on who won our 36-hole championship. Go ahead.
The final is set. It's over. The Sandwich Club, which is in Greenwich, Connecticut, took down Glen Oak Country Club, which is in near the Chicago, Illinois, and suburb, Glen Elen, Illinois. And it was the 36-hole match was really important because Glen Oak was winning.
Yeah,
and it looked like they were going to do it. And the Sandwich Club this morning and late on the back nine on Sunday came roaring back and got the win. So congratulations to the Sandwich Club.
Big win. And what we're hoping to do is get my friend Mike Suma onto Course Record on Monday and talk a little bit about what it means to him. Also, too, quick reminder on our poker chips. These are our ball marker poker chips. They have been blessed with tons of birdies, tons of pars, and a lot of good attitude. So if you want to be part of this, you want to get some of our poker chips, and we have varying colors, all you have to do, send an email to us at anewbreedofgolf@michaelbreed.com. Okay, I think that does. Oh, no, there's one other thing, by the way. We have a special Course Record this Saturday leading into the RBC Heritage. And you make sure you join us on CBS Sports. Excited to be back on CBS. Make sure you join us at 2:30. I believe it's 2:30 Eastern time. Greg and I will be doing that. We'll talk a little bit about Tiger. We've got some great interviews. Jim Nantz will be on the show, as will Randy Smith, who's been coaching Scheffler for, not nearly 25 years, but closing in on that number. Anyway, so excited to talk to those two guys. It's going to be a great show. Make sure you join me then. That's on CBS at 2:30. So excited for that. And by the way, for a little update on what's going on at the RBC, Gregory, if you could, I am particularly interested in Colin Morikawa.
Well, I'll start off with the top of the leaderboard because that should interest you as well, because Cam Young is the leader. He shot 63 yesterday.
Yep.
Our overnight leader, the lead is down to 1 now. Eric Van Rooyen is at 7 under par. Joaquin Niemann, who shot 6 under yesterday, has reached 7 under in his morning round. But it's a really, really good field. You have Corey Connors playing. He shot 66 yesterday, yet to tee off today. Patrick Cantlay, 66, yet to tee off. Shane Lowry, who's been playing great, yet to tee off, also shot 66. The wind is howling.
It's picking up?
Yeah, it's really picking up. Supposed to reach somewhere around 20. I'm scrolling down still, unfortunately, for Colin Morikawa. He's even through 14, 1 under. Good news, tied 53rd. So he's inside the cut.
He's
right
even
now
for the day and 1 under for the tournament. He
Correct.
had it 2 under, made a double bogey, so he's made one birdie since. And then what does the cut look like? Do you think the cut's going to be at -1, or do you think it's going to get to -2?
Well,
because he's right now tied 53rd at -1.
Exactly.
Correct?
So it's -1 right now. I think there's maybe I don't think it gets to -2 with the forecast to win.
So you think at -1 is pretty safe? You think it might go to even, but you don't think it's going to -2?
I think it's closer to getting to even right now. I mean, even par's tied 71st. So you have a couple of guys drop back. You only need 6 guys to drop back.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that cut is even with the whole afternoon wave to go. So I think I'm waffling a little bit, but I do think it'll end up being -1.
Waffler. He's a waffler. Okay. Now, I'm sure you all are wondering why I look so ridiculous here. And Gibbsy, if you could give me a 2, there you go. Yeah, because what I want to do is I want to try to explain to you how proper sequencing works and how improper sequencing works. So what you can see is, obviously, I got a tennis ball, a wiffle ball, and a couple other tennis balls here to kind of give you an idea of how this transition, how this sequencing works. And I'm not so concerned as much about what happens in the backswing at this particular moment. I'm pretty much just going to talk to you about how you visualize what happens in the start of the downswing. And one key word is separation. I want you to think about separation. And so when we get set up here, again, I'm not talking about the angle that we're necessarily using in the backswing. I'm not concerned about where the position is of my arm at the top of the backswing here. I'm not concerned about any of that stuff. What I'm concerned about is separations that take place and then assuming separations, because there are certain things that can't separate, but you can feel like they separate. So in the address position, you can pretty much see that these 4 balls, tennis or wiffle, are kind of in the same area right here. So at address, they're all pretty much right here. And what happens in the swing is they gradually separate from this right here. This is going to move a little bit, but they're all going to separate. Now, this rotation of the hip is going to separate a little bit from the knee. It can't move that much. There's a bone that says no, but your image is a little bit of separation here. Then there's separation from the wiffle ball to this tennis ball on the arm. There's going to be a lot of separation there. So at the start, they're probably a foot apart, and up here, they may be a foot and a half or so apart. So we separate that. And then from here to here, now this isn't going to really separate a whole lot. But what is going to happen is these two are going to separate from the knee. So when I start to go here, what you can see is that this tennis ball is now farther from that knee, and then this wrist is now farther from that knee. And all of a sudden, in a perfect world, if this all didn't move around, they'd all kind of line up on an angle like this. Okay? Now, what you imagine is, and the way I see it, is we now have the start of the race. Okay? So the race is all on this. Go back to that face-on shot again. All on this line here. They start on this line. So this is our starting line right here. Now, this starts first. And this actually, believe it or not, this starts going forward while this is going backward. Okay? I know it's hard to believe, but this is what you want to image in your mind. So you get back here. This is still going this way, and all of a sudden the knee and the hip are going while this is going. And it, in effect, it will stop this, and it will now start to drag all of it. And if I could put a tennis ball, I'd put a tennis ball on this face here, because this is really the last thing to move in all this. When we are creating, if you could, Gibbsy, go back to that. Yeah. So if we create this before this moves, we got a problem. So I'm going to show you slowly what that will look like. Here and there. And what happens if I do that fast, no matter how fast I try to swing, I'm going to be limited in the distance that the ball is going to travel. And one of the reasons why is the loft that's added to the golf club. So clearly, what will happen with a flat club versus a lofted club is energy disperses differently. Okay. And so if I come in and I take the club and I do this, so I come back in and I do this, now all of a sudden I've added loft to that golf club. And no matter how hard I swing, it's not going to go as far, because this 6-iron now is going to become an 8-iron or a wedge. So I'm going to swing hard at this now. I'm going to start with the club head, not with my wrist. Start with the club head. That's about as hard as I can go at it. And that 6-iron had a ball speed of about 101 miles an hour. The ball flew about 48, and the apex wasn't bad. Come on over here. The apex wasn't bad. It was 85 feet. The problem is that the apex, it now is in the middle of the shot instead of sort of 75 or 80% down the road, right? So a properly struck golf ball, apex is late. And that's what makes it descend down into the ground at a sort of a steeper angle of attack. So what you're going to see is a vertical launch of about 24 degrees. That means I've got a lot of loft. I've had the ball apex at 85, but the ball speed at 101. And I've lost a lot of distance because I started with that club head first. Now, if I start now with my arm first, which is different than the club, I'll hit it farther, but not maximize speed, not maximize distance. So here, I'm going to start my arms first, okay? I should get a lower launch angle, a little bit more ball speed, and a little bit more distance up from that 153. So here we go. Now again, a little bit better. So apex still at 80 feet, ball speed 103. So I got a little bit more distance. The carry distance was better. And my vertical launch came down. So my vertical launch now is at 21.5, down from 24. So I brought that down a little bit because there was a little less loft on the face than there was in the swing before. Now, what I want to do is I want to feel like my hips are going to start this. And watch what happens when my hips start first. When my hips start first, now all of a sudden I start carrying the club. Okay. And when I start doing that, now all of a sudden the speed's going to pick up. And I caught that thin. In fact, I got to hit another one. That ball went farther, but it went to the right a little bit. Okay. But what also happened was, because I hit it thin, the vertical launch came down. That vertical launch is at about 18 right now. I'm going to get this thing to probably about 16, but let's try it again. Okay, that was pretty good. So that one there is about 18. Ball speed goes to 111. Distance goes to 173. Apex is at 80. All that stuff is a whole lot better, but it's not best. And this is the thing that when you all are trying to understand golf swings that are sort of the modern golf swing and then the classic golf swings, you go to classic golf swings and you think about Sam Snead. Sam Snead had this, what they call a sit down position. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. But what you notice when Sam does that is this lead knee right here, this lead knee is going this way, which then moves the hip, which then moves the chest, which then moves the arm, which then moves the club head, and all of a sudden it moves the ball a really far distance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that exact same thing, start with my knee first, and then see what we get. And now all of a sudden it changes literally everything. That ball had 120 miles an hour of ball speed. Now, let me go over here to historic golf swings, and I want to show you my Sam Snead. Here's a Sam Snead swing. So he takes the club back. Now, his lead knee is there. His trail knee is probably right there. But you can see how much the hip has moved. You can see how much the shoulder has moved, the bicep has moved, and also the wrist. So we have this position here. Now watch what happens to this knee as we start to go. See that first move right there? So that knee is already starting the downswing. Everybody says, well, it starts from the ground up. Actually, it starts with that knee first. That's my opinion. You start with the lead knee. And that lead knee moves, and now all of a sudden it starts dragging everything else. You've heard the X factor. The X factor, and Jim and I have talked many, many times. Jim McClain have talked many, many times about this. The X factor is, and if you were watching the Masters coverage, you saw some of this in some of the things that I did with CBS. The pelvis and the chest are at the top of the backswing. They're, depending upon the individual, somewhere between like 45 and 55 degrees of separation. But the X factor, the real separation takes place in the downswing. And it's really sort of and it's hard to say downswing because backswing and downswing, you imagine, well, backswing happens and stops, and then downswing happens following that. Doesn't really, there's kind of a melding between the two. And the lower body starts to work while the upper body is still going backward. This is when what I call the start of the downswing. The start of the downswing is that knee and hip moving as the upper body is still going. And so what you see is you see Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas and others separate that X factor that Jim talks about. That actually starts at the start of the downswing in the lower body and the finish of the backswing in the upper body. That's when it really happens. And then that's maintained for a little bit, which creates a drag in the club head and creates a lot of club head speed, a lot of pulling in parts of the body, separation, and then boom, it has some speed. So here's what you're going to see with Snead. And what's cool to watch is this. Here's the trail knee. Here's the lead knee. Now watch. The trail knee hasn't moved, but the lead knee is up to here. Now watch again. Now all of a sudden you're starting to see some movement out of both. And when he gets to where he's delivering the golf ball or delivering the club head to the golf ball, look at the difference between his knees. So that's there and that's there. That knee is actually outside of where his ankle is. That's why they call it a sit-down position. Because go ahead to a full here. The sit-down is that when you sit, your knees start to go like this. Your tail drops down, your knees go out. Nobody's going to sit. I can't even do that. Don't do that. And so what happens is you get that separation. That helps drag everything. And now this hip has moved, but this wrist and this upper body, they have been pulled. They've been pulled as a result of that knee clearing out, pulling the hips into an opening position. And now what will happen is that knee, which is kind of bent, will straighten out and it will fling the club head and the club will go into some major speed here. Let me see if I've got another one that will give you a better look here. Here's another look. So let's take him up to the top. And I'm going to draw this here and draw this here. And now watch what happens as this goes. See that trail knee is still exactly right where it was at the top of the backswing. But this knee has moved almost 2 times. It's almost twice as far away from that trail knee as it was at the top of the backswing. And so that's incredibly wide there. Look at this position right now. Look at how much space is between here's his knee, here's his other knee, and at address, look at how they're both inside. So his knees are actually wider apart as he's in the downswing than they are at address, which is remarkable. It's remarkable. It's one of the reasons why of all the swings that you think about in the classic swing category, this would be my favorite, and this is many people's favorites because it's very, very similar to the modern swing, but also a incredibly functional motion. So now we bring him down to this spot here, and now he starts to bring the club in. The leg straightens out. Look at that lead leg straighten out right there. And now he posts. It's a beautiful, beautiful motion. So what's your drill? There's a couple of different drills here. One is you make a backswing and you get up to the top here like this. And then all you're going to do from here is you're going to broaden that knee. So you broaden that knee and hip and then go. This isn't about distance. This is about timing. This is about sequence. This is about transition. This is about separation. And it's not a lot. When you get up to the top here and you go like that, you're only moving your knee probably a couple of inches max. It's not a lot. So we go here, here, and there. And one of the drills, and I haven't done this in a while, but if I go back to say the early 90s, late 80s, this was a drill that I did a lot of, because understanding how that lead knee really creates the forward motion. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on here. Oh, so fast it didn't pick it up. That was pulverized. Let me make sure it's in the green. That was destroyed. See if I can do it again. Yeah. Yep. Come on up here. Come on. Come with me. 125. That's again, I don't do this a lot. My normal 6-iron is about 115 to 117, right in there. That's what I play at. I play about 175 with this thing. But when I really focus, and I tend to try to think about speed with a driver, not necessarily with an iron. But that 6-iron that I normally hit is 175. That's 195. So I'm say 193. Round up. 20 yards. Just by understanding proper sequence, by understanding separation, and by having a drill that's going to help you appreciate how to do this. Now, a couple other ones that you can do if you don't have the luxury of swinging in your house. Put this across your chest, make a swing, and then what I want you to do is when you start, I want you to freeze your chest and start the knee. So move that tennis ball just like this. That's all you got to do. And you're literally in your mind going to count 1, 2. So this is going to go 1, 2. So there's 2. And you can see when I move my hips, so the wiffle ball now, that's 2. But also 2, when I'm doing that, the tennis ball on my knee is moving. So I'm 1, 2, and that 2 gives me a little bit of chest turn. And then 3, and then the other ones that happen later, which is the arm and the wrist. So what you're thinking about in your mind is that separation in that drill. Tighten all this stuff up. See if I can get another 125. Nope, I got 126. Now, I don't swing that hard for a lot of reasons. But the primary reason is that I don't get a chance to swing hard enough to be able to control that. So I lose control over the club face. But my point is, if you really want to understand how to swing consistently and properly, you've got to understand the order with which the body moves that club in the downswing. And I think that what I've tried to show you today will give you an idea, a visualization of how it all works. And so when you get in here, and I'm not going to try to crease this, I'm just going to try to get the proper order on this. And now that's a very, very smooth swing for me. That's about where I play at about 117. And that thing, if it had a little bit less draw to it, would have gone right in the basket, which is set at 175. That ball flew 178. So that's really where I'm playing. That's how I do it. I have that sequence. I don't try to do that sequence fast. I don't get the chance to practice that a lot, but I am keenly aware of the order with which it goes, the separation, and the transition. And I'll just, before I go to questions here, I'll just say this about transition. Transition to me, when you start with that knee first, it takes all the throw out of the golf club. It takes it out, because what happens is that you start to move that knee properly and it drags. And so you get a very smooth transition. This is where tempo typically changes the most, is in transition. So if that knee starts, your tempo is going to be a whole lot better. Here we go. So there's a very, very smooth swing. Again, 117 miles an hour of ball speed. Distance was spot on at 177. So there you go. Great shot there, Gibbsy. So all that stuff is excellent. Started at about 1.4 degrees to the right. It had left spin to it, which means I got a little bit of a draw. When you want to think about hitting a draw, you've got to think about getting that knee to go first, getting that hip to go second. It takes a little bit of practice. It takes a little bit of effort, but that effort will be realized when you're hitting the ball a little bit farther and you're shooting lower scores. Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Ducharme, let's get some questions.
This one from Jeff. Michael, this is gold. I agree, by the way. My wiffle ball starts to slide forward first, lateral hip slide from the top of the swing, followed by the knee. Sometimes I get stuck. What's the best drill to fix that?
Okay, so just think about it this way. If my knee moves out like this, I can't slide, because once you slide, you're taking the hip and you're putting it over the knee. So if the knee goes out, now all of a sudden, this isn't going to slide. But I'm not going to take all this stuff off. Here's what I'm going to do. This is one of my other favorite drills. This would be a down the line shot, Gibbsy, if you could. Right. So let me move this over so it's right in line with that camera. So right there. So here's what you do. You put your rear up against a wall. Maybe there's a wall in your house. Maybe there's a door in your house, whatever. You put this up against the wall. And then what you're going to do is when you make a backswing, you're only going to have one cheek on the wall. Okay? Your lead cheek. So here, this, when you rotate back, this comes off the wall. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take this cheek and you're going to put it on that wall right there. You're going to get in there and you're going to slam that up against that wall right there. When you do that, now let's go to a camera 2, sorry. So now when I get in here and I put that on the wall there, you can see what happens is, so right back here, you'll see this brick right there. So when I set up, that'll be a line that I'll draw. So I'll get over here like this. Okay, now make the backswing. You see that space between my hip and that brick. If I slide, now it disappears. But when I take my left butt cheek and I put it up against that, you can see now there's a ton of space in here. So we go boom, and then rotate through like that. And by the way, when I go like this, look at the sit down position with the Snead position. So we're putting that butt cheek back against there, boom. And now all of a sudden, look at all that space that's in there because both of my butt cheeks are on this wall. And now we rotate through and let the trail one come up. And now we're there. Okay. So that's how you do that. Use a wall, something along those lines, and that'll help you with that. Okay. Okay. We got another one.
All right. And just put your questions right in the chat and we'll get to as many of them as we can. Hopefully all of them. This is from Melissa. Hi, Michael. Love your shows. I'm working on drawing my shots and found that I'm aiming for the inside quarter of the golf ball, and that helps me enormously. Is this a good thing to do?
So I'm a big fan of the following. And Melissa, I appreciate you sending your email, your question. I'm a big fan of this. The golf ball has no idea what you're doing. All it knows is what has taken place at that moment of impact. The club face is a little closed. The path is a little bit inside, whatever. What I would tell you is the following. I think it's a great idea, and it's been a swing thought that many have used for a long, long time. One of my favorite ideas with this, and Gibbsy, if you would, give me a down the line shot here. So what I like to imagine, believe it or not, is this is one of the things I tend to have a couple of thoughts that my dad gave me, and he was not a golf professional, but he had a couple of really cool thoughts, and they were all sort of images. And one of the images that he gave to me was that the club head is a hammer and that you're hammering a nail into the golf ball. So if you can imagine, now go back to that shot, if you would. So if you can imagine, there's a golf ball here, and this alignment stick is a nail. And I have the nail going through the inside part of that golf ball, just like that. That's great. If I do that, that's going to direct my path. So my path is now going to want to come in there. So what I would say is this, Melissa, I love the idea of hitting that inside part. I think it's great, but I'm partial to the idea, because my dad had this, of imagining a nail coming out of that inside part, but also too, seeing the nail on that angle that you want to go. Because a lot of times people will swing to the inside part and they'll hit the inside part with an open club face. And so what you'll get when you do that is you're going to get a ball that's going to spin off to the right and shoot out to the right. So I get a ball that starts to the right, but the face is kind of open. And so what I know this is what my dad gave me, right? I love the guy. So I like thinking about things that he said, not just on when it comes to a golf swing. So what I like to think about is I visualize a tee, which is really a nail right in here like this. And I'm going to slam that tee right through the ball on that line right there. Right? So I come in here like this. I can see that tee or that nail. The nail is silver. I see it right there. And now all I'm going to do is just crush that thing out to the right-hand side there. And then for me to hit a draw, what I need to do now is I need to make sure I have the club face right. So now what I do is I adjust my grip. So I get my grip just a little bit stronger. I move it a little to the right-hand side. Now I'm going to see that exact same image in my mind, only this time my club face is going to be in a good shape. And now I'm going to just blister. It's going to start out to the right. It's going to draw back to the left. Come on, Poppy. Come on. Oh, almost got it. So that's what I think of. By the way, I call my dad Poppy. Why wouldn't you? All right, let's get another question.
This one's from Joel. Great stuff. Is it any different for the driver? I have more issues trying to get to the left side with the driver, and I expect this is my swing sequence.
Yeah, what I would say is that the reason why, and Joel, you're right, the reason why you have a difficult time getting to your left side is when we start the club head first. If that sequence goes, so let's just look at it this way. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, the club head is supposed to be 5. If the club head becomes 1, then all of a sudden, all this becomes 2 and 3. And what is 1 and 2 being 4 and 5, what it does is it forces our weight back to our trail side. So I come in here and I go this way. And when you go this way, go ahead, just give me a single shot there. So when I go this way, this part of the grip now starts to work that way. So I throw the head of the club and the top of the handle, which is coincidentally where my left hand is going in the other direction. And when that's going in the other direction, then this has to go in that direction. But I got this going in this direction and this going in this. That's why people say I just felt all tied up, because you were. Because this is going like this is going like that, this is running into that, and just a whole lot of nothing. And nothing you want to look at, nothing I want to look at. So what I would say is that when you think about what is going on with the handle itself, I always want to feel like, doesn't work that way, but I always want to feel like this part of the grip of the handle is always ahead of this part of the handle. So when I go like this, now the only way I can get that to go is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So yeah, with a driver. Yeah. With a 6-iron. Yeah. With a pitching wedge. Yeah. With a little chip shot even. If I'm hitting chip shots, I know everybody says, well, chip shot all. No, there's still lower body movement that goes on. Ask Tom Watson what he thought about short game. You know what he'll tell you? It's all in the knees. He said it. This is a guy who made one of the most famous shots at a U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, by the way, with Jack Nicklaus, by the way. One of the most favorite. Asked, what's the key to your short game success? It's all on my knees. I just hit the shot with my knees. Well, there's number one right there. That's number one. It's all on my knees. So a lot of people go, well, you don't move the lower body. You said move the upper body. That's it. Or move the upper body. No, the lower body has to move too. Okay. And it moves in that sequence, even if it's a short one, even if it's a small one, might not be as powerful, might not even be as much separation, but it's still, we're still getting the movement of the knees first, just like Watson said. Okay. All right, Gregory.
From JW, I have inconsistent driver contact. What, in your opinion, is the best drill to practice to hit the ball with the driver in the middle of the club face every time?
Okay. All right. I'm going to do two things here. One, I'm going to take 2 tees and I'm going to put them in the ground like this. Now, what you can see, if you have that close-up shot there, Gibbsy, what you can see, no, go the other way. Go down the line with that one if you would. Yeah, maybe a 7. Do you have a 7 close-up? There you go. Perfect. So what you can see is I have those 2 tees set up, and the inside tee, this tee is on an angle. And the reason why is that the shaft is on an angle. So what you're doing is you're going to create a path. And what you're going to do is you're going to just get used to this club swinging through the path. And at first, when you start thinking about the path, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to start thinking about not hitting something. I don't want to hit that tee and I don't want to hit that tee. And you're going to be very nervous and you're going to be very cautious. But then what you're going to realize is that it's not that you're not hitting something, it's that you're hitting something with something. And when I say that, what I mean is you're hitting the middle of that gap with the middle of this club face. So what you're focusing on is a little spot right there with the middle of the club, and then you're going to swing that through. And you're going to get used to what you have to feel like you do when you do that, right? Like for me, because I'm a cutter of the ball, I tend to bring my path a little bit to the inside. So that's a hard drill for me to hit it dead square with the face dead square because it goes against my shot shape. So in order for me to do that, I have to feel like I'm letting my arms just get away from me just a little bit when I come through. And when I do that, now the club goes through that gap without a problem. But everybody's individual. And so what I would tell you is do this drill and do it with a 6-iron first. And then get to a point where you can swing through slowly. And by the way, go back to that shot of the gap if you would. If you widen that gap just 1/4 of an inch, you'll feel like you're sitting on I-95. You'll feel like you have so much room in there that you can swing through so fast, you're not going to have a problem at all. So if it's too narrow for you to be able to get the club through there, then just widen it out a little bit. You can always get used to something and then make it a little bit more challenging. But do that with the iron first and then get into the driver and you'll start to straighten out that contact, if you will. Okay.
This is from Jeff. Michael, I've heard you talk about swinging left, and I assume that means moving the grip around your left side through impact. Can you talk about how that motion squares the face?
Okay. So swinging left, obviously, for the right-handed player. And what that means is this, that the handle of the golf club, my hands, my hips, they're all going around. I don't ever want to feel like my hands are going, go ahead and give me that one shot. I don't want to feel like my hands are going down the line to the target that way. I want to feel like my body rotation is going to move the club. And what you find is that when the body is doing that, and this is the hard part, centrifugal force is going to pull this club head away from me. So when I start swinging rotationally, I'm getting a little bit of pull away from the center, much like if I took this string right here and I started to swing this around really fast, what you could see is that string almost swings 90 degrees to my forearm. And then when I go slower, it starts to drop down. So I go like this, and now it's swinging 90 degrees. Well, the reason why is there's an energy that's pulling that away from the center. That same thing is happening in a golf swing. So when I start to swing left or rotate left, there's an action that's pulling that club head away from me. And so when you get in here and you swing left, it doesn't mean that the ball is going to start or go left necessarily. See, that thing just starts dead straight. Now, it had a little bit of right movement to it, but it kind of started straight. In fact, it started a half a degree to the right. It kind of started straight and then went a little bit to the right. Now, that's why when I play, I make that swing. I aim left because I want that shot shape. I love that shot shape. That makes me so happy. You have no idea the joy in my soul right now because of that shot shape. So all I do is I take my aim, and instead of aiming straight like I did right there, I just aim like this. That's why a lot of times when you watch me hit a golf ball, when I'm doing all my stuff, it looks like my ball position is forward. Just go back to that single shot there, Gibbsy, if you would. So when I aim this way, it looks like my ball position is really forward, but it's not. I just aim left. If I aimed square like this, now it looks like it's in the center. I feel like I'm going to hit it off the planet to the right, because I like to see a ball that starts to the left and goes to the right. Okay. But body rotation will drag the club into squareness, and swinging left will drag the club into squareness. Okay. Okay.
This is from Tim. How do you know how fast you can swing the golf club without losing control of the face?
So Tim, the answer is like, this is I love these questions, but I hate these questions because I always have to give a bad answer. And the answer to the question is, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, 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 right? So what you have to learn is, hey, how fast can I go without missing the center of the club face, right? And then how fast can I go and still sort of stay in balance, right? So when I'm swinging and I'm doing that what I did at the very start of this, and I'm doing my sequence properly, and I'm really trying to add some speed, that's when I start to feel like I can miss the club face, and really not just miss the club face, but miss the alignment of the club face to where I'm trying to hit it. And so many times, if my club face is a little closed, I might hit it in the toe or the heel, or if it's open, I might hit it in the toe or the heel instead of when it's where I want it to be, right? So you have to understand that it takes a little bit of practice. And frankly, one of the things that I'm a big fan of, and if you'd asked me this question 15 years ago, I wouldn't answer it the way I answer it now. But I honestly believe this. I believe that you can get more knowledge, more certainty, more trust practicing indoors with all of this information than you can outdoors. Because I know when I get in here, like I know if I want to add speed, I know how to add speed. So when I look at this, I go, okay, I'm going to increase this. This ball is going to go 100, and provided I hit it solidly, it's going to go 120 miles an hour or more. So I hit it on the toe, so I can't count that one. Don't even show that. Gibbsy, don't even show that. Just erase that. Everybody, erase that from your minds. I told you, that's why you have to have a disclaimer. There's always a disclaimer, and the disclaimer is, if I hit it poorly, well, guess what? It happened. All right, let's try it again. Okay, that one was not quite as good as I can do, but that was close. And that one had 118 miles an hour ball speed. So I know I'm close to the number that I'm trying to get to. And again, without, with a little bit of practice and a little bit of focus on what I'm doing, that ball will get into the 120s, as you saw earlier when I had that thing at 124 and 125. I know that happens. Well, if I don't have the indoor environment to be able to go, okay, what did I do to increase that? And then if nothing else, if all you have is something that gives you ball speed, you have a real chance to improve, because for the most part, it's not always true, but for the most part, faster ball speed means greater distance. And so when you stand over here and you swing at it and you look at that and it says 118, I know that's probably going to go farther. And in fact, that went 181. So normally I'm a 175 guy. That's 181. And so the way you do this is you got to practice and try as best you can to get yourself something that might be able to give you some information on ball speed or club head speed, or both, or even more information than just those two things.
This one's from Dave. Hi, Michael. What can I do to hit the ball more consistent every time and the proper grip? I'm guessing he means what is the proper grip?
Okay, so let's just deal with the grip here for a second. I'm going to take some of this stuff off now, so you'll forgive me for. So the proper grip. The proper grip to me is a grip that is, and I don't like the terms strong and weak. Proper grip to me is a grip that has in the lead hand more dominance of fingers than palm. And in the trail hand, more dominance of palm than fingers. Okay? So that's the complicated way of saying it. The simple way of saying it is this. And what I'm going to do, Gibbsy, if you could, is give me a 3, if you could, but close up on it. So drive that 3 in a little bit and get over on my left side here. There you go, right there. Keep going. Can you go more? Okay, good. Okay, good. Now, beautiful. So this would be what I would call a no-knuckle grip. That's a no-knuckle grip. And that is when I look at the knuckles over here, I can't see a lot of the knuckles. When I take my hand and I can see knuckles like that, that's what I call a knuckle grip. And so what I like to do, let's go back to 2. What I like to do is I like to see a grip that is knuckles and no knuckles. So lots of knuckles on my lead hand. I would say 3. No knuckles on my trail hand. That might be 1, no more than 1. So I like knuckles, no knuckles. And when I have knuckles, no knuckles, I get a little bit more of my fingers on my lead hand and in the palm of my trail hand. That's the easiest way to look at the grip. Now, what was the second question about getting consistency in the strike?
Yeah, more consistent strike. What can I do to hit the ball consistent every time?
Okay, so again, this is another question that's a terrible answer. But here's what I will tell you. This is the easiest way for me to explain it is with myself. I spent the years that I tried to play professionally having a different swing thought literally almost every day. And then when I sort of gave up the quest of playing professionally, I mean, like, signing autographs and PGA Tour type stuff, and just started playing locally in the metropolitan area of the PGA of America. When I played that way, and then when I subsequently got the show with the Golf Fix, what I did was I played 10 years with having the exact same swing thoughts every single time. I had 3 thoughts. The first thought that I had was I wanted to take the club outside. So I wanted to take it out this way. Even when I think about taking it outside, it doesn't go outside. And I still have that same swing thought today. And I started those swing thoughts probably 18 years ago. So I stand up to the ball and my thought and my takeaway is moving the club away from me this way, like that. Now, I'm going to think about that same thing. It's not going to do it, but I'm going to think about the same thing right there. Second thing is that I thought about was moving my chest forward. One of the things that for me in my thought was I was a baseball player and I always stepped and then I drove my hips and my upper body stayed back so much the club would get inside and I would hit it fat. I'd start the ball way right. And so in order for me to do what I want to do and get the club to start the way I want to start, I have to think about taking my chest and rotating it and moving it forward and rotating open. So my swing thoughts, and again, I used these for over a decade. I would call it outside, forward, and open. So I would take the club. If I do this now, this should cut. So outside, move forward, and then open up my chest. And what I get there is I get a shot that started a little bit more to the right and curved to the right. So I didn't really open up my chest as well as I could have on that one. And what I got was I got so good at knowing of the 3 things that I was doing, the ball would tell me, well, you did this right, but you didn't do this right. So that shot right there, it curved to the right, but it started to the right. So that tells me that I didn't open up my chest as well as I could have there. So then on the next one, what I would do is I would do outside, forward, and really open. So I would actually say really open in my mind. And so I had those 3 thoughts. But the way you get consistent is you have the same thoughts for an extended period of time. Because what you have to do is you have to have skill development. And skill development is making sure that when you put your hands on the club or when you set up to the club or when you make a backswing, that you have the skill to be able to take it back in a relatively similar position. It's not going to be identical. You're not a machine, but it's a relatively similar position. So if you want to improve your ball striking, it takes some time, but you have to have consistent thoughts. And what I have said for a while now, and I think, Greg, it's one of your favorite things that I've ever said, is for consistency, you have to perform consistently. You have to think consistently. And so if I want to get to a point where I'm going to start this ball to the left, I have to take this outside. I have to move my body forward. I have to open up. And when I do that, I'm going to get a ball that's going to start a little to the left, and then it's going to curve just a little bit to the right. And when I don't get it to curve to the right, well, now I know, okay, I did these things really good. I just didn't take the club outside far enough because the club face wasn't open. So now I see that shot. I go, okay, I got a little more work to do when it comes to that outside thing. Now, those are not thoughts that I'm employing now, but those are things that I can always go back to, and I know exactly what I have to do in order for that golf ball to perform the way I want it to perform, or curve the way I want it to curve.
I don't think that was a terrible answer, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think that it's a great answer. So this is from Chip. Thanks to both of you for your time. I saw a tip where I need to keep my back to the target longer with my driver. When I do it, I get great results. What is a drill to learn that, to help ingrain and learn that?
So it's not really necessarily a drill as much as it's a feeling. And the feeling is, go to a down the line shot, if you would, Gibbsy. So when you get to here, you're just going to feel like your chest is staying back this way and your arms are dropping down like this. So what I like to do, if I would say that there's a drill for that, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to calm down the hips. So what I like to do, and I don't even know if I can call it a drill, because you're actually, all you do is just standing here like this, and you're going to hit the ball. And what's going to happen is you're going to get some pivot back this way. And then because your foot is back there, it's going to restrict the hips from sliding, and it's going to more force the arms at the start of the downswing to drop down like that, right? So we go like this. And what you're going to get is you're going to start to get the golf ball to go out the way you want it to go. And the other thing is that when you do this right, you should be able to, if you do this, you should be able to sit there and hit the ball and not fall over. If you're hitting and you're falling over, that's telling you that your hips are still sliding out. And by the way, when it comes to this thing about drills, this is an important thing for you to understand. If a drill is easy for you to do, then you don't need to do it, because you clearly can do it, right? So I can remember when I first got into the business, I was working at a place called Jupiter Island Club down in Jupiter, Florida. And there were the head pro down there was a guy named Gil Kavanaugh, who was fantastic. And he said to me, Michael, you got to do that drill that I just showed you. And I did that drill. And the very first time I did, I couldn't stand on my feet. And I kept doing, I did it for an hour. And I finally went back to Gil and I'm like, Gil, I hate this drill. This drill doesn't work. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, every time I'm doing this drill, I'm falling over. And he goes, well, that's why you need to do the drill. Because when you get to a point where you can do this and you don't fall over, then you don't need to do the drill anymore. You've gotten rid of that motion, or you've learned something. And once I've learned how to do that, now I don't need to do that drill anymore. It's done. I've developed that skill. And what I would say to you is that when you get these drills from your coach, or maybe you've seen it online and you're doing it and it's really hard for you to do it, all that means is you just got to keep doing it. Simple as that. Hey, by the way, Greg, can you give me an update on what's going on at the RBC Heritage?
Yes. Cameron Young, still our leader. He's 1 under through 4 holes now, 9 under par total for the tournament. Eric Van Rooyen is 2 shots back. He's at 7 under par, 5 under for the day, which has been a really tough day. Scoring average is 72 plus right now. We have Aaron Wise and Mito Pereira at 6 under par, and a couple of your highlighted players. Colin Morikawa through 17 holes today is even par, 1 under total. That's tied 51st. That cut line we were talking about, right now, even par is tied 67th. So it's getting closer and closer to even. Which,
okay. So I
would
one
say
more
it's
hole
probably
left.
going to be even.
Let me ask you this question. Given that, is he finishing on the front or the back? And is it a par? I think if it's on the front, that's a shortish par 4, isn't it?
It's a short par 4. He's already hit his tee shot. He drove it 308 into the front bunker. 21
Okay.
yards from the hole.
All right. So we got a shot.
He's got
so
a
tell me
chance.
there's a chance.
Yeah, there's absolutely a
Okay.
chance.
All right.
For
terrific.
Dustin Johnson, there's not really a chance. He's one over. There's a chance. He's through 16 holes.
Okay.
He's
So
one over for
he's
the
got
tournament.
he's got a chance.
Matt Fitzpatrick is done. He's got no chance. Ricky Fowler is done. No chance.
One of the most disappointing situations. I feel sick for that guy.
Yeah.
We've been waiting on that. We've been waiting on him for a while, and it just isn't quite working out. Okay.
Hopefully soon.
All right. We got any more questions?
We do. This one from Mickey. If you were teaching a student, would you teach club head speed or control first?
If I was teaching a student, would I teach club head speed or control first? Another terrible answer, but this is the way it is. Age would depend a lot on this. That would really fall into what am I dealing with as far as the body is concerned of who I'm working with. If I'm working with a 8, 9, 10-year-old, I'm going to go with speed. If I'm working with a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, and they've got plenty of speed, then I might go to the other. If I'm dealing with somebody that's a little bit older, or maybe dealing with some sort of a physical ailment, then I'm not necessarily going to go right to speed first. So I think I would say a lot depends on the individual and where the individual is in their sort of path through the journey that we call life. I know you can hear the music, can't you? Yeah, that was beautiful.
It was.
Thank you. Is there a tear in your eye?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
ironically.
Wipe it away.
Sure
Make sure you wipe it away.
I'm not sure it's for what you said, but there's a tear in my eye. This is from Steve. This is a great example for me. Sorry, Michael. I can't erase the toe shot because it plagues my game. So when you hit that toe shot earlier, I hope there's no tears in your eyes. What did you do to erase it on the next swing?
So, all right. So let's do this. Let's Greg, will you do me a favor? Will you hand me a one of those swim noodles, please?
Do we have any of those
here? I need the longer is there a longest one in there? Yeah, there you go. Give me that. That's perfect. Okay. All right, now. So, Gibbsy, this is going to be a camera 1, if you would. Okay. So, this is one of the drills that I used to do a lot of. When I see people having toe hits, what happens is the handle rides up. So what happens when the handle rides up is I'm going to make this extreme. The only thing that's in the ground is the toe. So you have to hit it on the toe. So as the handle rises, the toe sinks. And when the toe sinks, you hit it on the toe. And so what I spent a lot of time doing is I would have an individual hold a swim noodle like this. And if my arms came through like that and I hit this, I would know that I lifted my arms. So I got the feeling, and the image that I had in my mind was that there was a table, a dining room table, and I had the ball under the table. It was glass table, so I could see through. And all I wanted to do was swing my hands, hit the ball, but swing my hands under. So I would get that feeling of that. So you can see when I take the club back, my arms are kind of blocking that. When I come through, they work right away from it. And then when that happens, when my hands are now lower, and I have videotaped my swing many, many, many times. My golf shaft, when I come back to impact, is literally about on the exact same angle that it started at address. And that's something that I trained. I didn't do that originally. So what I do is I get this image of this table. I'm looking through the glass to the ball, and now all I'm thinking about is missing that table, and it comes right out of the center of the club face for me and goes pretty straight. So that's what I would tell you to do. I think it's very important for you to realize that the toe hit is coming from the rising of the handle. Now, why does the handle tend to rise? Well, the handle tends to rise because what happens to us when we take the club back is we tend to open up the club face. And when the club face gets open up here, now what I tend to do is I tend to come down, and when I'm coming down, I'm rotating the club face to get square. And when I rotate the club face to get square, I stop the top of the handle again. And when I stop the top of the handle again, I stop my body from rotating. And the only way I can get through that ball without impaling myself is to stand up. And when I stand up, I lift the handle and the toe goes down. Okay, so the drill that I gave you, unless you get your club face square or closed, the drill that I gave you is going to work, except you're going to hit everything 100 miles to the right. So what you want to do is, in this particular situation, and I would stay on that down the line shot again, Gibbsy, when you take the club back, use a mirror and check the face of the, oh yeah, that's perfect, because all of the mass of the club is now on this side of the club shaft. When I get to where all of the mass of the club is on that side of the club shaft, I got problems. When I get to here, I don't have problems. So now what I do is I take this club back, I get the mass of the club over there, as you can see, and then all I do is I'm still looking down there. Now I trust this up here. I've developed this skill. So I take that, I get it shut, get underneath, and then I hit the ball solidly. Okay? All right. That's a really, really fun question.
This one's from JW. With a handicap of 13, are lessons better or club fitting / new clubs better? I have out-of-the-box clubs for the last 7 years. It's the first set that I ever owned.
Okay. So, JW, here's what I would tell you. As if you are a 13 and you have gotten to that with golf clubs that you just bought randomly, you've got a good skill set. And I would say to you, it's time now to get fit for your golf clubs. And I would tell you that when you get fit for your golf clubs, your handicap will come down, not immediately, but it will come down within about a month and a half. And the reason why is that you'll hit the ball different distances. They'll go different apexes. They'll do different things, and you'll hit it better, but you're not going to score any better, but you'll hit it better. And then eventually what you're going to find out is that you can't believe your 7-iron really goes that far, because for a while your 7-iron didn't go that far, but now it goes that far. And now you trust it to go that far. And now you'd be pulling out the right club and not feeling like you're going to add anything to the shot to get the ball to go the distance that you're trying to hit it. 170, let's just say. And so what I would tell you is that you get yourself a new set of golf clubs and then learn through playing and practicing what they do. And then your numbers will come down. Your scores will come down. And you probably, with the new set of clubs, and again, I can't guarantee, and I'm not going to guarantee anything, but you probably will get down a couple, maybe 2 or 3 shots. You'll go to an 11 or 10. And then at that point, you'll start to realize probably that the wisdom of somebody else who can actually tell you what to do with your charting of a golf course and with your preparation for a round of golf, which is what we talk about with the journal. We talked about it the last couple of days on our show on Sirius XM, A New Breed of Golf. It's really all understanding what you have to do to prepare yourself to play good golf, and then that handicap will come down, I promise. But great job doing what you're doing. Getting to a 13 with a set of golf clubs that you just bought without any kind of is brilliant. Fabulous.
This one's from Michael M. Hi, Michael. I'm 62 years old. It's very hard for me to stay balanced and to swing through the golf ball on balance. My backswing, I feel, goes way past parallel. And then there's a little follow-up here. My 7-iron only goes about 130 yards. I'm 62 years old. Your 6-iron goes 180 plus. I want to hit it like you. You're my idol.
Okay. So I'm gonna walk across here. I'm gonna get something that's gonna help. And now I'm gonna come back over here. So this is one of my favorite contraptions. It's a half foam roller. So you can see right there. It's a half foam roller. And what you're going to do is you teach yourself how to stand on this thing. So you get to a point where you can stand on this. And then what you're going to do is, okay, Gibbsy, let's do this for me. Let's go down the line. Okay. So now I have my half foam roller. So now I get on my half foam roller and I figure out, well, what do I have to do to be able to hold a golf club and not fall over? No, don't go in there. Just stay right there. Yeah. Okay. So Right now, I feel like I've added a little bit of knee flex, and then you work on your backswing. So you make a swing. I know I don't do this very often. So now we'd make a backswing. Okay, good. So I have the club back there. Okay, so now you do that. And once you do that, that's going to help you with the balance that you have or that you seek. Now, at 62 years of age, the reason why you're losing the distance is because you're not generating that sequential start to the downswing. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the club head. You have to learn how to do that. But if you're out of balance, you can't do that. So what you have to do is you have to teach yourself how to get set up properly, how to make a backswing in a balanced position here properly. And then from there, then you can start to move through and generate some speed. But you can't do any of that until you have the setup correct, the balance correct. And so it takes a little bit of time. And I know when I say this, you're going to go, I don't have time. I'm going to say, be patient. You go, I'm 62. I don't have a lot of patience. I'm 60. And I'm going to be patient because the walk up 1,000 miles begins with a step. You're going to play a lot of golf still. And you don't want to hit your 135 yards. You want to hit it farther than that. So what you have to do is you got to get yourself a half foam roller. Spend 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening on that thing for a week. Get to where you can stand on there without a problem. Then do it with a golf club in your hand and do that for a week. And then start to make a backswing and do that for a week. And then maybe you start to do it with a full swing and do that for a week. And in about a month, you're going to be able to have real balance when you do this. And then you're going to go out there. And then when you want to step on the gas and give it some speed, now you can, because your balance will be good. But make no mistake, and this is the one thing that I always struggled with in the game of golf as a teacher when I was writing articles for Golf Magazine, Golf Digest, Golf Channel, all this stuff. People wanted to stay away from the word practice. And maybe I'm not a truth source, but I like to tell you what I believe. And what I believe is this: you are never going to develop skill without practicing. Never. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're in sales. I don't care if you are, it makes no difference. You know your jobs. You know what you do. You know what? I become a better parent because I've practiced being a parent, because that's what happens. You practice all the time. I am telling you right now, you have to put in time to become good at something. You cannot think to yourself that all you have to do is just wish it and it's going to happen. It's not, it doesn't work like that. So you got to put in practice and embrace it and enjoy the journey. Just enjoy the journey. And by the way, at 62 years of age, when you start losing balance, this little drill, I'm telling you, your balance will get better. And as your balance gets better, you're going to live longer. I'm telling you, it's the truth. All right, Gregory, give me an update, because I want to know what's going on with my Colin Morikawa. Did he make his birdie? What's going on?
I have news.
I hope it's good.
It is good. He made birdie.
Yeah, but damn it, dude.
He is now suddenly rocketing up the leaderboard. He's tied 30th.
Okay.
2 under par is tied 30th. It's playing really tough out
2
there.
under par and he's done.
He's done.
So I made the cut.
70-70.
Made the cut. How's Cam doing?
Cam is leading. He's 1 under through 4 still.
Okay.
So 9 under total. 2-shot lead over Eric Van Rooyen.
Okay. Terrific.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's doing great.
All right. Let's get a couple more questions and then we'll go from there.
Okay. From Frank, what's the best advice for chipping off tight early spring lies? And does that advice change for, using air quotes, clumpy lies? Ball sitting down with a clump of grass behind?
No. All right. So Gibbsy, that close-up 5 will work nicely here. So whenever you have this, close up on the ground with the club, my fault. So what I want to do is just steer 5 right on down to the ground there. What I want you to do is I want you to open up the club face. So when I take the club and you open it up like this, what you're going to do when you open it up, you can see that heel come out of the ground a little bit. So when I'm hitting shots, and I do this for everything, but specifically when you're in this springtime and you've got some clumpiness, open up that club face, because what'll happen is the toe will glide, the heel will glide a lot better. So when you get in there and you're hitting these shots, all you're going to do is you just want this club to glide along the ground. This is something that we talked about last week on course record. And also, in fact, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, right here on New Breed of Golf Live, is the importance of the club face being open. I want to see that club face get into an open position, because you're going to be able to get that club to glide along the ground or on the toe, and then you're going to be able to hit that shot very, very successfully, okay? And even if you hit it a little bit fat, it's not going to dig down. The second thing that you want to do is you want to, and this is, again, stay here on 2. What you want to do is you want to feel like you're wide here, okay? So these one-handed shots are going to be really good with your trail hand, because when we go here, what we do is we take the club and we move it along the ground. We're not really changing the height of the body nor the height of the handle. And so what happens is the club is kind of gliding along the ground, and it grabs the ball and throws it up into the air. So the width of the backswing is really important. So what I like to do to solve this problem that you have is open up your club face and then feel like you're getting wide. The club is going to move along the ground here. Hit it with your trail arm. And what you're going to get is you're going to get a nice brush along the grass. You're not going to worry about it being really sort of soft. So get some width, get that club face open, and you'll improve those short shots in all situations, but particularly when the ground is a little bit soft.
This is from Gary. How do I get more distance out of my wedges? It seems I can only get my wedges to go between 50 and 70 yards.
Okay. So I'm gonna get a pitching wedge here. All right, and I'm going to show you a couple things. Gibbsy, I'll need that close-up shot with feet as well as chest. So in camera 5, maybe just a head to toe here, okay? And I want to be able to see that golf ball as well. So here's what I would tell you. A lot of you struggle with ball position when you're hitting these wedges. And many times what happens is you have the ball just too far forward. So one of the easiest things for you to do to increase distance with your wedge is to just move the ball back and strengthen your grip. So if I hit a normal pitching wedge here and I don't really jump at it, I should get somewhere between 120 and 130. So that one there was, yeah, it's right in the middle. It's 125. So I got 125 yards out of that. Now, I'll give you some other things that happened there. That ball left at 27.3 degrees at apex at 89, and the ball speed was 96. There's a good shot of that. Okay, now, what I want to do is I want to try to crease this a little bit more. I want to get a little bit more distance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my ball position back. I'm going to strengthen my grip, so I'm going to get knuckles, no knuckles. So now I go here and here. And what I should get here is I should get a lower launch, faster ball speed, and greater distance. Okay? I'm going to swing or try to swing at the same rate of speed. There's the ball position. Look at how far back that is. Okay? And now, remember I told you before, so go ahead and show that picture up front there, Gibbsy. Remember I showed you before that the ball speed was 96. That right there is 99. I had 125 and I got that to 132. And so what happens is that when you strengthen your grip and you move the ball back a little bit, now all of a sudden you'll increase the ball speed. You'll increase the distance that the ball goes. That ball apexed at 86. So not too much different. So the apex was right around 90, but that ball launched at 24.7 instead of, what was the other one, 27 or 28. So I got it to launch a little lower, which flights it out a little bit faster, gives me a shade more ball speed, which gives me a shade more distance. Strengthen that grip, move that ball back, and you'll get a little bit more distance out of those wedges. Okay? All right, let's take one more question here.
Okay, perfect. This is from Jordan. How do I get my trail elbow, which is the right, to move off my rib cage in the downswing? I struggle with hooks and pushes. Thanks.
Okay. So I love this question. So this happens to be my favorite drill that I do. And so here's what I would say to you. His name's Jordan?
Jordan.
Okay, Jordan. Here's the way you do this. You don't have to get it off of your side. You have to get it in front of your side. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you have to get your chest and specifically your lead shoulder to start to move around. So what happens is this. When I make a backswing, give me a close-up 7 here, just kind of like mid-chest up above my head, if you would, Gibbsy. So I take the club back like this. There you go. Now, if I make a swing, I want you to look at this space right here between my chin and my shoulder. If I go like this, it doesn't change. If I go like this, it changes. If I go like this, it changes. I got to take that. I know it's a cool looking top, but I got to lay that a little bit that way. So here. See that open up right there? See that open up? Now, this is a good time for a split. If you can get a split here, Gibbsy. So what happens is that when I get to here, and then I start to go like this, my body starts carrying the club. And it'll carry the club so that when I'm moving, no, give me a face on and a this. Give me a, put whatever's on the left, put that face on, and then keep there you go. Okay, so what happens is this. So we're here. And when I start to go like this, you could see my chest open up now in the face-on view, and you can see the chest come off the shoulder. So when I start to do that, you see what happens to the club? The club starts to work out in front. Instead of when I take my shoulder and I go like this, the club works down. Pay attention to the shaft now. The club starts to work down. In this side, on the right side, it starts to work down. When I go like this, now it works in front. And so in order for me to get rid of that hook, and this is the hardest part. So you can go face on here for a second. The hardest part is that the area where you're missing the shot is the area where you need to swing. If you miss left, you got to swing left. If you miss right, you got to swing right. Sounds crazy, but that's what you got to do. And the way you do that is you get this shoulder off of the chin. You get this chest to open up. That's why I always had forward and open in my swing thoughts. So what you're going to do is you're going to get to here. You're going to get that chest and get that shoulder away from the chin. That's going to get you in a rotational fashion, drag the club left, and now all of a sudden we're going to hit cuts. Well, it didn't cut. It just went straight. And so that's what you want to do. You got to get that chin off the shoulder by getting that shoulder away from the chin, get your chest to move, and you are going to be thrilled with your outcomes. Okay. So first of all, thank you all so much for joining. I love helping you play better golf. I love the interaction. I love the questions. And I love the fact that Colin Morikawa made the cut. That was a big thing for me because that was my pick, which we have weekly picks every week on A New Breed of Golf on Sirius XM, which you can join us over there between 8 and 10 every morning, Monday through Friday. Also, too, we have best of going through the weekend. So if you're interested in listening to some of the stuff that Greg and I talk about, we're over there at Sirius. Also, too, on Mondays, you can watch me on Course Record. And I want to remind you that this Saturday and for the next 3 Saturdays, we've got special course records that are going to be leading into CBS's coverage of the PGA Tour. Got a lot of really cool things going on. Interviews with Butch Harmon, interviews with Randy Smith and Jim Nantz are coming on Saturday, tomorrow at 2:30. So make sure you join us there. Keep those questions coming. And if you're interested in getting some of our ball markers, just send an email to us at anewbreedofgolf@michaelbreed.com. They're $6. We take a PayPal. Very, very simple, and we'll send it right out to you. That $6, by the way, includes tax and includes shipping. It includes all the work that Greg has to do to get it all together. And we always sign when we send the chips out. We always send a nice little personal note to everybody. It's not a money-making thing. Frankly, I'm telling you the truth. It's just a way of getting you all into our community. So if you're interested in that, please send us an email. In the meantime, I hope everybody has a great week. I hope the weather cooperates and you get to play all the golf that you want to play. I thank you so much for joining us here and in all the things that we're doing. And we look forward to helping you play better golf. All the best. Have a great weekend.